You can't just leave me for her, Stephen. Isabella's voice echoed through the grand marble lobby. He smiled ruefully, holding the hand of his new bride, Donna. My heart pounded like a drum. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My fiancé of 3 years, Stephen Anderson, was standing in the middle of an exquisite wedding ceremony, but he wasn't waiting for me. He was with her, Donna. I took a step forward, my heels clicking loudly on the marble floor. Stephen, what is going on here? My voice trembled, a mix of anger and pain. Stephen looked at me, the corner of his mouth curling into a smug grin. Funny seeing you here, Isabella? Funny? You think this is funny? My voice rose, drawing the attention of the guests. You're marrying her, using the money we saved together for our future, for this. Donna looked at him, confusion shadowing her eyes. Stephen, is she telling the truth? Stephen sighed, pulling his hand away from her grip. Yes, Donna, it's true. Isabella and I were engaged, but she was never exciting enough. I felt like the ground had crumbled beneath me. Exciting enough? Is that why you stole from me? To fund this sham of a wedding? He shrugged, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Yes, Isabella, your savings made this dream possible. My blood boiled. You're a monster, Stephen. The crowd started murmuring, growing louder as people pieced together the betrayal. I could see the scandalous headlines already forming in their minds. Donna's shock turned into rage. You used her money for our wedding? How could you do that to me? Stephen turned to her, a forced calm in his voice. Donna, listen. No, Stephen, I interrupted. You're not talking your way out of this one. Both of you deserve to know the truth. He's been playing us, Donna. Donna's face crumpled, and she stepped back, her eyes never leaving Stephen. Is this all true? Have you been lying to me? He tried to take her hand again, but she slapped it away. Don't touch me. I looked around, meeting the eyes of everyone in the room. I will make you regret this, Stephen. With a final glance at the chaos behind me, I turned on my heel and walked out of the grand lobby. Each step away from Stephen and Donna solidified my resolve. I was done being the quiet, naive fiancé. The betrayal fueled something fierce within me. Layla, my best friend and lawyer, picked me up from the hotel. Are you all right, Isabella? Her concern was evident, but she knew my answer. I'm not okay, Layla, but I will be. We're going to make them pay. Her eyes sparkled with determination. What do you plan to do? I clasped my hands tightly in my lap, taking a deep breath. We need to gather evidence. We need everything on Stephen's betrayal, and then we take him down. Isabella, that's going to be hard? Are you sure about this? I nodded. More than ever. He didn't just betray my trust, he used me, my dreams, my savings. Layla's expression hardened. All right, let's get to work. We'll need everything he's done, every lie, every theft. I looked out the window, the city lights blending into a blur. He won't know what hit him. Layla nodded. We'll make sure of that. As we drove away from the scene of ultimate betrayal, I knew one thing for sure. Stephen had made the biggest mistake of his life, and I was going to make sure he paid for every single moment of pain he had caused me. The sun dipped below the horizon as Layla and I settled into a corner booth at our favorite cafe. She opened her laptop, ready to document everything. Start from the beginning, Isabella, she said. How did you meet Stephen? I took a sip of my coffee, gathering my thoughts. It was a business meeting. I was new at the firm, trying not to draw attention to myself. Stephen was the project lead, confident, charming. He made it all look effortless. Layla typed, nodding for me to continue. He saw me struggling with some papers and offered his help. It was a small gesture, but it meant a lot at the time. We started talking. He was always so engaging. It felt like he drew me out of my shell. Layla glanced up. Was he always manipulative? I shook my head. Not obviously. He knew how to hide it well. There were signs, though, small things that felt off. I remember the first time he snapped at me. Her fingers paused over the keys. What happened? He had promised he'd be at my friend's birthday. He didn't show up. When I confronted him, he turned it around, said I was being clingy, that he had important work commitments. Layla's brows furrowed. Work commitments? Yes, but I found out later he was at a bar with some friends. I brushed it off at the time, thinking maybe I was overreacting. He was always so convincing. He sounds like a textbook manipulator, charm when he needs it, cruelty when it benefits him. Exactly. There were good times, too. He made grand gestures, like that trip to the lake. He planned everything, made me feel special. Layla's frown deepened. But that was his trick, right? Lure you back in after pushing you away? Yes, I admitted, feeling a bitter taste in my mouth. Looking back, I see the pattern, but at the time I was blinded by love, or what I thought was love. And then the engagement. He proposed during a weekend getaway. He was so romantic. Candlelit dinner, fat rose petals. I thought it was genuine. Little did I know, he was planning our future with my money. Layla's eyes narrowed. When did you start putting money away with him? Right after we got engaged. He said he wanted to build a life together, and part of that was financial security. I trusted him, so I agreed. And he kept pushing the wedding plans, right? She asked, confirming what she already knew. Yes. Every time I asked about setting a date, he had an excuse. Work deadlines, family issues. I thought he wanted it to be perfect. Now I see he was stalling. While planning his wedding with Donna, Layla added, anger evident in her voice. Exactly. He played me for a fool. Layla leaned back, closing her laptop. We need evidence. Emails, messages, anything that shows his deceit. I nodded, resolute. I'll gather everything. He left traces. He got careless, thinking I wouldn't notice. We'll need to be thorough, Isabella. This has to be airtight. I know, I said, determination burning inside me. I won't let him get away with this. As we left the cafe, I made a silent vow. Stephen's charm had lured me in, but his lies had unleashed my fury. He would face the consequences of every deceitful act. Stephen's engagement party was the first time I felt completely out of place. His friends were loud, boisterous, like they owned the world. I nursed my drink, trying to find comfort in the corner of the room. Isn't Isabella too straight-laced for you, Stephen? One of his friends sneered, a tall man with an arrogant smirk. Stephen laughed, glancing over at me. She's perfect, he said, but his eyes flickered toward his phone, which buzzed incessantly all night. That was Stephen, always presenting one face to the world, another to those closest to him. I should have noticed the signs then. His constant need to check his phone, the smirk he couldn't quite hide when he thought I wasn't looking. But I wanted so badly to believe him. Later that night, as the party wound down, Stephen pulled me aside, his face serious. Isabella, I'm sorry about my friends. They can be jerks sometimes. I forced a smile. It's fine. I just wish you wouldn't get so distracted. He frowned, slipping his phone into his pocket. I promise, I'm here with you. Let's make tonight about us. But the promises always fizzled. He had a knack for saying what I needed to hear, only to revert to his old ways once my guard was down. Months passed, and our engagement became a cycle of highs and lows. Expensive dinners and spontaneous weekend getaways kept me hooked, overshadowing the doubts that crept in during his frequent business trips and late-night absences. One night, I confronted him as he was getting ready to leave. Why are you always out so late? Business, Isabella, he replied coldly, adjusting his tie. Don't be so paranoid. It's not paranoia when it's happening so often, I insisted, blocking his way. He sighed, annoyed. Look, I have big deals in the works. It can't be helped. You knew my job came with long hours, but you never explain anything. It's like there's this whole part of your life I'm not allowed to see. His expression hardened. I'm doing this for us, for our future. Do you understand that? I stepped back, feeling the familiar sting of his barbed words. I just want to feel like I'm part of your life too, Stephen. You are, but you have to trust me. He kissed my forehead, a gesture that used to comfort me but now felt condescending. Those kisses, those empty assurances, they were what kept me hoping, kept me trying. Until the night of our dream wedding shattered everything. After I saw him with Donna, the full weight of his deceit crushed me. All those moments of doubt now made sense. Stephen had used me, played me. The anger simmered beneath my skin, fueling my resolve. Sitting in Layla's office later that week, I handed over a stack of documents. These are emails, text messages, everything that felt off to me. Layla skimmed through them, her brow furrowing. This is good, Isabella, but we need more. Bank statements, any financial records showing the transfers. We need to create a clear trail. I'll get them, I said firmly. I won't stop until I have everything. Layla nodded, determination matching my own. We're going to take him down. Every step I took now had a purpose. Stephen had thought he could use me and walk away unscathed. He was dead wrong. I was going to expose every lie, every manipulation. He would regret underestimating me. The game was on, and I was ready to play. I watched as Stephen became increasingly distant. It started with him coming home late, always muttering something about a client meeting running over or a sudden work emergency. At first, I believed him, or at least wanted to. One evening I couldn't ignore it any longer. He came in at midnight, reeking of alcohol. I stood in the hallway, my arms crossed. "Where have you been, Stephen?" "Out with clients," he slurred, attempting to brush past me. "At a bar, I assume?" I shot back, not moving. "Isabella, don't start. I'm tired," he said coldly, heading for the bedroom. "Stephen, this is getting out of hand. You're hardly here anymore. We don't talk." "I don't see you. We talk," he snapped, turning to face me. "You just choose to focus on the negative." "Negative? You're never home, and when you are, you're in another world," I said, feeling my frustration bubble over. His face twisted in annoyance. "I'm working hard for our future. Why can't you see that?" "Stop hiding behind that excuse," I shouted. "Is there someone else, Stephen?" The room fell silent. For a moment I thought I saw something like guilt flash across his face, but it was gone before I could be sure. "That's ridiculous," he said, his voice icy. "I'm dedicated to us." I stared at him, feeling helpless. "Then act like it." Weeks went by and the nights grew colder, not just outside but between us. Stephen's absences became more frequent, his explanations more vague. One night, after he had left yet again claiming a business emergency, I sat on the couch with my laptop. I decided to dig deeper. It took some time, but eventually I stumbled upon his email account. As I read through his messages, a bitter taste filled my mouth. There they were. Dozens of emails between Stephen and Dee, discussing their secret project, their future together. It all clicked. Donna wasn't just some fling. She was a full-scale replacement. I printed everything, feeling my chest tighten with each page. When he came back later that night, I was ready. My hands trembled, but I squared my shoulders and waited. "Isabella, awake?" he called casually, nearly making me snap. "In the living room," I replied evenly. He sauntered in, then froze, noticing the papers spread out on the coffee table. "What's this?" "Your emails with Donna," I said, my voice steady despite my trembling fingers. "I know everything." His face transformed. Gone was the casual facade, replaced by a flicker of fear. "Isabella, I can explain." "Explain? You've been planning a life with another woman while stringing me along." I pointed at the emails. "Your late nights, your business meetings, they were all lies." He took a step toward me, but I held up my hand. "Don't. Just don't." His eyes darkened. "You're blowing this out of proportion." "Am I? Tell me, Stephen, what's your idea of proportion? Using my savings to fund your wedding with her?" He looked like he was about to argue, but then he laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "You were always so gullible, Isabella. You didn't see it coming, did you?" My chest tightened. "No, I didn't. But I see it now and I'm done. You're going to pay for this, Stephen." Walking away from him, I felt a strange mix of relief and rage. He had shown his true colors, and there was no going back. With every step into our shared apartment, I knew I was moving towards uncovering every layer of his deceit. The end of our engagement would be just the beginning of his downfall. The tip came through an anonymous text message. "Luxury hotel, Saturday at noon. You need to see this." I stared at my phone, my curiosity piqued and my suspicions raging. I needed to find out what Stephen was hiding. On Saturday, I dressed carefully, trying to look composed, despite the turmoil inside me. The hotel lobby was grand, filled with fresh flowers and the murmur of guests. I saw the sign for the wedding reception and followed the arrows. My heart pounded harder with each step. Finally, I stepped into the ballroom. There at the altar was Stephen in a tuxedo, Donna by his side in a white gown. The world seemed to tilt. "Dearly beloved," the officiant began, but his words drowned in the rushing sound in my ears. I forced my legs to move, walking purposefully down the aisle. "Stop." My voice cut through the ceremony, turning heads. Stephen's eyes widened as he saw me, a flash of panic crossing his face. Donna looked confused, glancing between me and Stephen. "What is this?" I demanded. "How could you do this to me?" Stephen's face twisted into a sneer. "Isabella, you shouldn't be here." "But I am," I replied, my voice shaking with fury, "and I see now exactly what you are." "Stephen, what's going on?" Donna asked, her voice trembling. "Tell her, Stephen," I challenged. "Tell her how you used my savings for this sham of a wedding." Donna's face crumpled, shock giving way to understanding. "Is that true? Did you use her money for this?" Stephen rolled his eyes, his mask slipping to reveal the callous man beneath. Yes, it's true. I used her money because she was never exciting enough. The guests gasped, whispers sweeping through the room. I took a deep breath, my rage fierce and burning. You think you can just walk away from this? Stephen smirked. I can and I will. What are you going to do about it? You'll see, I said, my voice cold. Everyone here will know what you did. Stephen turned to his stunned bride. Donna, don't listen to her. She's trying to sabotage us. But Donna's face had turned cold. Get away from me, Stephen. You lied to me. I stepped closer, my eyes never leaving Stephen's. You played both of us, but you won't get away with it. As security moved to escort me out, I turned to the crowd, raising my voice. This man is a liar and a thief. He used me, and he'll use anyone to get what he wants. I was led out of the hotel, but I didn't care. The seed was planted. Stephen's perfect world was crumbling around him. On my way out, I sent a quick text to Layla. I need everything we have on Stephen. Now. Back in Layla's office, we reviewed every piece of evidence again. We're taking this public, and we're going to make sure everyone knows, I said. Layla nodded, sliding a folder across the table. This is more than enough. He's not going to walk away clean. As we finalized our plans, I felt a sense of clarity and resolve. Stephen's betrayal had broken something inside me, but it had also forged something stronger. He thought he could dismiss me, but he was wrong. I would be the storm that tore down his carefully crafted facade, and I would make sure he felt every moment of it. Stephen had no idea I had been recording our conversation. When I confronted him at home, I made sure my phone was hidden but capturing everything. Your savings made this dream possible, he sneered, his words dripping with arrogance. This recording would be my weapon. Layla uploaded the file to her computer. This is perfect, Isabella. He's admitting everything. I sank into the chair, feeling a mix of relief and anticipation. What now? Layla tapped away on her keyboard, bringing up her contacts. First, we alert the media, local news, social media influencers. We need to ensure maximum exposure. Then, we file a lawsuit. My eyes locked onto hers, my resolve steeling. Let's do it. The next day, I walked into Layla's office to find her already bustling with activity. I've got a reporter from the local news station interested, she said, looking up from her desk. And I contacted a few social media influencers who love a good scandal. Great, I replied, settling into the seat across from her desk. We need to make sure this hits him where it hurts. That evening, we posted the recording online, tagging Stephen's workplace and everyone relevant in his social circle. Within minutes, the post began to spread like wildfire. The following morning, Stephen burst into my office at work, his face red with anger. What the hell did you do, Isabella? I stood up, meeting his glare head-on. I exposed you. People deserve to know what kind of person you really are. You think you can ruin me? He spat, stepping closer. You'll regret this. I held my ground. No, Stephen, you'll regret this. You used me, you betrayed me, and now the world knows. As security escorted him out, Greg, a supportive coworker, approached me. You all right? I nodded, taking a deep breath. I will be. That night, Layla and I watched as the news station aired the story. Footage of Stephen's confession played, followed by my account of our relationship and his betrayal. It was surreal watching my life unfold on screen. He'll face consequences now, Layla said, squeezing my hand. This is just the beginning. The following weeks were a whirlwind. Stephen's face was plastered everywhere, his reputation slowly crumbling. He was suspended from his job pending an investigation, and Donna publicly filed for an annulment. One afternoon, I received a call from a reporter wanting to do an in-depth interview. Sitting down with them, I reiterated my story, making sure every detail of Stephen's deceit was highlighted. Do you feel justice has been served? The reporter asked. Not yet, I said firmly. There's more to do. I continued meeting with Layla, collecting more evidence and planning the legal side of things. We need to file a suit for emotional damages and theft, Layla explained. We can also go after him for fraud. I nodded, determined. Let's get everything we can. As we filed the lawsuit, the weight of my decision hit me. This fight wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming my life, my dignity. Stephen thought he could use and discard me, but he underestimated my resolve. Back at home, I received a call from my parents. You've always been strong, Isabella. We're proud of you, my dad said, his voice filled with warmth. Thanks, Dad. I couldn't have done this without you and Mom. Remember, Mom chimed in, this is just a chapter in your life. You have many more to write. As I hung up, I felt a sense of closure. Stephen's actions had sparked a fire in me, one that wouldn't burn out anytime soon. This battle might be far from over, but I was ready to face whatever came next. My fight for justice was just beginning. The high-profile event was buzzing with energy. Every influential person in the city seemed to be there, and so was Stephen. I spotted him across the room, mingling and laughing, still playing the charming role he perfected over the years. Layla squeezed my arm. Ready? More than ever, I replied, clutching a small, portable speaker in my other hand. We moved to the center of the ballroom, taking deep breaths. I raised my voice, making it clear and forceful. Excuse me, everyone. May I have your attention? The room fell silent as people turned to look at us. Stephen's smile froze, his eyes narrowing as he recognized me. What is she doing here? Someone murmured. I have something to share, I continued, my voice unwavering. I lifted the speaker and hit play. Stephen's recorded confession echoed through the room. Your savings made this dream possible, his voice sneered. Gasps filled the air, followed by whispers and shocked glances. I watched as Stephen's face turned from pale to an angry red. Everyone, witness the man who used his fiance's savings for another wedding, I announced, my voice cutting through the stunned silence. Stephen stormed towards me, eyes blazing. What do you think you're doing, Isabella? Showing everyone who you really are, I retorted, meeting his gaze without flinching. You think you can manipulate people, ruin lives, and walk away? Not anymore. Donna, who had been standing off to the side, approached us, her face ashen. Isabella, is this true? Did he really use your money? I nodded. Every word of it. He never intended to marry me. It was all a lie. The crowd started to murmur again, louder this time. Stephen tried to grab my arm, but Layla stepped in, blocking him. Don't you dare, she warned. You have no right to do this, Stephen shouted. I have every right, I snapped back. You deceived me. You took everything. Now everyone knows. Donna turned to Stephen, tears streaming down her face. I trusted you. How could you do this? Stephen's face twisted in anger and desperation. It wasn't like that, Donna. She's distorting the truth. Am I? I asked, holding up the phone, still playing his confession. You admitted it yourself. The room watched as Donna shook her head, stepping back from Stephen. I can't believe I was so blind. Stephen looked around, realizing the tide had turned against him. His composed facade shattered. You'll regret this, he hissed, his voice low and threatening. Enough with the threats, Stephen, I replied coldly. Your true colors are plain for everyone to see. A security guard approached, and at Layla's nod, he escorted Stephen out, who continued to rage and curse as he was led away. The crowd began to disperse, people still whispering and throwing curious looks my way. Layla turned to me, her eyes full of pride. You did it, Isabella. You exposed him. I nodded, feeling a strange mix of exhaustion and relief. We did it. Over the next few weeks, the fallout was swift. Stephen lost his job and faced public disgrace. Donna went through with the annulment, and Layla pursued the legal action against him. The digital evidence we had collected, emails, bank transfers, and the recorded confession, painted a clear picture of his deceit. One evening, as I was sorting through some old photos, I received a text from Layla. We're winning. His attempts to countersue have been dismissed. I smiled, a real smile, for the first time in what felt like forever. Revenge had never been my goal. Justice was. And now, with each passing day, it felt like I was reclaiming my life, piece by piece. I met with my parents for dinner. As I walked in, my father wrapped me in a warm hug. You always had the strength, Isabella. We're proud of you. Thanks, Dad. I have a long way to go, but I'm getting there. We're here for you always, Mom added, her smile comforting. As we sat down to eat, I looked around at the faces of my family. For the first time in a long while, I felt at peace. This chapter of my life was closing, but a new one was beginning. And this time, I was the one writing it. The courtroom was tense as we waited for the verdict. Stephen sat a few rows away, his expression a mix of anger and defeat. My heart pounded, but I kept my composure, glancing at Layla for reassurance. The judge returned, and everyone rose. In the matter of Isabella Hart versus Stephen Anderson, the court finds in favor of the plaintiff, Isabella Hart. Mr. Anderson is hereby ordered to repay the stolen funds and compensate for emotional damages. A wave of relief washed over me as the judge continued, detailing the legal requirements Stephen would face. I glanced at him and saw his face turn ghostly pale. After the session, Stephen approached me in the hallway, his lawyer trailing behind. "Isabella, please, can we talk?" I shook my head. "There's nothing left to say, Stephen." He looked desperate. "I didn't mean for things to go this far. I'm sorry." "Sorry doesn't fix what you did," I replied, my voice steady. "You made your choices. Now you face the consequences." With that, I turned and walked away, feeling a weight lifting from my shoulders. Layla joined me, her eyes sparkling with triumph. "We did it, Isabella. Justice is served." "Thank you, Layla. I couldn't have done this without you." "Yes, you could have," she said with a smile, "but I'm glad I could help." The weeks following the trial brought a sense of closure. Stephen struggled to find work, his reputation in ruins. Donna quietly left town, seeking a fresh start away from the scandal. I spent more time with my parents, drawing strength from their unwavering support. One evening, over dinner, my dad looked at me with pride. "Isabella, you've come a long way. How are you feeling?" "I feel free," I admitted, smiling. "It's like a new chapter is beginning." "That's the spirit," Mom chimed in. "You've got the whole world ahead of you." Back at work, my colleagues treated me with newfound respect. Greg, who had always been a silent supporter, approached me one afternoon. "Hey, Isabella, I was wondering if you'd like to grab a coffee sometime. Just as friends, of course." A genuine smile spread across my face. "I'd like that, Greg. Thank you." As we sipped our coffees, Greg shared his own experiences of overcoming challenges, and I found comfort in knowing that I wasn't alone. "You're stronger than you think," he said, his eyes full of warmth. "Thank you, Greg. That means a lot." My days became brighter, filled with new possibilities and a renewed sense of purpose. I decided to focus on my career, setting new goals and aspirations. The lessons I had learned from Stephen's betrayal became a source of strength, reminding me of my resilience. One day, Layla called with exciting news. "Isabella, there's a job opening in my firm. It's a prestigious position, and I think you'd be perfect for it." "Really? That's amazing," I replied, feeling a surge of excitement. "I'll send over my application right away." "You've got this," she said with confidence. "I believe in you." As I clicked send on my application, I felt a sense of accomplishment. Stephen's betrayal had tested me, but it had also made me stronger. Now I was ready to embrace new opportunities and build a future on my terms. Standing by the window, I looked out at the city lights, feeling a sense of peace. The storm had passed, and a new dawn was breaking. With my past behind me and new horizons ahead, I knew that I was ready to face whatever came next. The journey had been tough, but I had emerged stronger, wiser, and ready to reclaim my life. The future was mine, and I was determined to make every moment count.